Hey all, I'm GamePro03. I wanted to go over something that was kind of a misconception with Archeage today. And so a lot of people don't really understand or know that there are diminishing returns with pretty much every debuff in this game, especially one of the most, pretty much all of the most common ones that you see. And these diminishing returns, this is the factor that a lot of people have, again, missed, and I want to go over them and exactly how they work. And the actual numbers behind everything, okay? So this is, again, going to be one of those, here's all the information, I'm just putting it up on screen, and you can read that, pause it here, it's going to be up for pretty much the entire video. But I do want to go over some of the stuff verbally, so hopefully there will be some merit to that, because there's actually some confusing things here that kind of need to be pointed out. So first of all, just to kind of show off what exactly this is, diminishing returns is the actual reduction of duration for debuffs if they are done in consecutive order in a certain time period, okay? And so we're actually just going to show it off here. Let's do it on one of these mobs. Just FYI, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuns, okay? So we're going to show it off with stuns. I'm going to first use Hammer Toss with a base duration of 3 seconds, followed by 2 Entangles, okay? And that's hitting targets under Summoned Crows, trigger stun for 2.4 seconds. And then I'm going to just do another Hammer Toss as the 4th one, okay? So you guys will see how exactly this works. Now, one important thing to note is that the 3rd hit will actually look like it doesn't even do any stun at all, and it's likely because of how small of a duration this Entangle is to begin with. But here you go. So first one here, followed by a 2nd, a 3rd stun, which you probably won't even see. And then we want to go right back to doing the 4th Hammer Toss here as soon as parry procs at some point. Hopefully today? Maybe? Alright, well my point is that once I actually get this off, it'll still be within 30 seconds of the last stun's end. And you can see that that causes the 30-second immunity, right? So very, very clear there. So this is exactly how that works, where the first hit did a full 100% duration of the stun. The second one is actually reduced by half. The 3rd one is only 25% of the total stun duration. And the 4th one actually fails entirely, and on top of that, causes a 30-second immunity that starts right then. So the most efficient way to play this is actually to do your 3 stuns, if you need to like maybe stop some kind of a cast time on the 3rd one, because it'll be a pretty short duration, and then wait 30 seconds yourself in your head from the end of when that last stun ended, from pretty much the end of the last stun. Count 30 seconds before you then once again stun the person, because otherwise the 4th stun not only fails, puts something in cooldown, but now from that point you actually can't stun them for 30 seconds, period. Right? That's the most efficient way to play, right? But in raid versus raid combat, you'll see that this happens all the time, where pretty much anybody in the front lines gains immunity to stun and trip and everything else extremely, extremely quickly, because everybody's just spamming every CC they can. So keeping this stuff in mind is actually quite vital, okay? Now, this applies to almost every CC in some way, with a few exceptions that are actually quite important to note. So the regular ones that you know of, stun, snare, impale, trip, fear, and sleeps even, and some of the bubbles and the deep freeze, they all have this immunity that comes up after essentially using the skill 4 times in a row, okay? And there's a little bit of weird exceptions here. They're all listed out, so make sure to read that. There are other exceptions to this where there are debuffs that do not have any diminishing returns or immunities, and for that there is the slows from different effects that give a timed slow, silences, shackles, and malicious binding is also on that list. And then there's like petrify, which is actually considered a confinement, which is like completely weird in the sense that it actually doesn't have diminishing returns, but there's a 30-second immunity that's actually triggered just on the 2nd petrify. So there are some strange things with confinements in general. It is listed out here, but there's a couple important things to note overall throughout the entire list is, number 1, the timer starts at the end of the previous debuff, okay? So when it ends, that's when the timer starts for the diminishing returns reset, okay? And the other thing is that confinements in general are all considered, quote, all of these abilities that are here are considered, quote, confinement, which means that anything that increases confinement duration will actually work and increase the duration of all of those different abilities, with the exception of malicious binding, which is a known bug that its duration will not increase with the gems of the confinement type. The Evan Glow gems that gives additional confinement duration. Doesn't actually work in Malicious Binding, it's a known bug, so hopefully that gets fixed at some point. But in general, this is how the confinement type works. And another thing to note is that confinement types don't actually have immunity to each other. So if you're petrified immune, you'll still be able to deep freeze the target. Or if the target is immune to the mist bubble, or actually any other bubble is a better example, you'll still be able to petrify or deep freeze the target. You'll still be able to malicious binding them, whatever, right? There used to be a thing a long time ago where sleep, you couldn't actually sleep deep frozen targets, but that does not seem to be the case anymore. You can actually do that. So this is kind of the most up-to-date thing that we were able to test for with everything. And again, this is actually quite important in Raid versus Raid. Hold on with your trips. Don't just go crazy with your impales. Okay, you have to kind of watch and see what are the buffs and debuffs on a person. And so this kind of goes with the whole mantra of all of my videos, where positioning is really important in battle, and of course combat awareness is a really, really huge one, where keeping in mind somebody's buffs and debuffs is actually a massive, massive value. All right. Hopefully this was actually helpful to you guys. Again, if you guys have any questions about this, there should be a Reddit post about it, which I'll link down below in the video. Or maybe you came here from the Reddit post and you just wanted to hear my voice. That's pretty cool too. But you made it to the end of the video, so that's great. I appreciate that. And again, if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, come over to the Discord. There's links below. Or if there's any other videos that you want to see on kind of the more obscure parts of Archeage and its mechanics, let me know. PM me, whatever, all right? I'm very interested in making those kind of things for you guys, because you guys have been pretty open about wanting those kind of things. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.